Chair Cups,
Present.
Vice Chair Riggs, Representatives Nirenburn,
Here.
Atchison, Boggs,
Here.
Christensen, Gallick, Hine,
Here.
Justice, Keithley, Mathiasen, Nixon Clark, Strickler.
Good morning. This is an oversight hearing. We have 7 present? Yeah. We have 7 present this morning, so we are going to go ahead and begin. Before we ask the treasurer to come up this morning, I do want to thank those committee members who are here this morning. I know that it was short notice for us to be here this morning, and I also know it's a very, very busy day. There's a lot going on. It is filing day. I understand that there's many people that have family, friends, constituents that might be in town as well because of that. I do want to make everyone, including those who may be listening at home, make it known. I extended an invitation numerous times last week to Treasurer Malek and told him, whenever you can meet, we will post up. And so this was not a time that I picked. This was a time that he and his staff specified that they could meet. That's why we are meeting here this morning, even with a lot of the other stuff going on. And that's why many of the other committee members aren't able to be with us this morning. It is my intention, I want to make it known right out of the gate, it is my intention that we will probably be back. I'm saying that because this is not a convenient time for not only myself, but all the other committee members that I talked to over the weekend when this time slot was picked. But I did not want to miss the opportunity because I told Treasurer Malek that whenever he could meet, we would meet. So that's why we're here. I do plan on following up at a later date. I also am stating right now that I would like to work with the treasurer to get a time that it will work for him. But I also need a time that will work for my committee. And so look forward to circling the wagons and collaborating to try to find a time in the near future to make that happen. With that said, I'm not happy that we're here this morning. I'm not. I'm just point blank going to say it. I had kind of a plan put together about how this was going to go this morning. I had an outline. I had a lot of notes. And because of something that took place over the weekend that I will get into here in a minute, I've thrown all that in the trash, scrapped it all. And so it's something that this has become something that is a lot bigger than this committee. I really hope that the folks with the media understand how big of a deal this is to the constituents, our constituents, to all the citizens of the state of Missouri. With that, I am going to ask the treasurer and whoever he would like to bring forward with him from his office this morning to go ahead and come forward. As always, please introduce yourself. I know you've probably already got it figured or filled out, but you do need to fill out a witness form and make sure that's submitted. What's that? Okay. We will get some witness forms. I tell you what, I'm gonna ask that you go ahead and we'll start this morning. We're going to get the witness forms with the agreement that those forms will be filled out and submitted before you all leave today. I must stress, I must remind you, are there some there? Okay. I do want to make this point. This is not something that I myself have ever brought up in a committee, nor have I ever found it necessary, but there were some changes made to the witness form. I think it was a couple of years ago, may have been a little bit longer than that, but basically it does state that you, similar to in court, that you agree to tell the truth. And I don't have one in front of me, but I just want to remind all of the everyone that will be testifying before this committee what that witness form says and what you will be signing, and remember that as you present the testimony this morning. So with that, please, Treasurer Malek, introduce yourself and potentially any of the staff that will be helping you out today.
Vivek Malek, Missouri State Treasurer. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, good morning. I ask that you allow me to present a statement that I have prepared that I hope will anticipate and answer several questions that have been raised about the promotion of unclaimed property. I would like to do that uninterrupted.
I'm going to allow you to proceed with the statement. I am not going to promise that it won't be interrupted, because if there is an inquiry in the middle of your statement from someone on the committee, it is something that I will allow them to be recognized and ask about that portion. Now, I will say that it is my intent to let you finish the statement, and then we'll probably go back to some of what is said there. With that, I would like to, before you start your statement, I would like to go to Ranking Member Nuremberg. I think she may have a couple comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate your willingness to go ahead and notice up. I think this is one of the most important oversight hearings that we have had during my time in the legislature. And I want to preface this by saying, while I wasn't, we started our hearing last week and then we had to recess. I had some meetings in my office and I was listening as you all came back into the hearing. And as soon as the information started to be shared, I stopped my meeting. I was streaming the hearing and I remember saying, this might just be the most egregious thing that I've seen done during my time in elected office by a statewide elected official. I am very interested to hear this morning, Mr. Treasurer, and I thank you for being with us, what you have to say. I know, and I've reviewed the letter that you submitted to the members of this committee. Your office can attest to the fact that unclaimed property is something that I have taken tremendous interest in since my first time in elected office. I have been one of the members of this committee, both the Appropriations Committee as well as the Big Budget Committee, to always sing the praises of what has been done by the Office of Treasurer to make sure that Missouri citizens know that they have property with the state of Missouri. I have been one of those members who have shared out with my constituents every single year direct letters to my constituents who have unclaimed property with the state and how to claim that property. There's nothing that's made me feel more like Oprah than telling my constituents, you've got money, you've got money, you've got money. And probably the most rewarding notes that I've ever received from constituents are those who live on fixed income, who send me a handwritten note that said, Representative, I had no idea that this money was in this account of my late husband, and I'm so grateful to reclaim this and be able to pay my bills. So this is something I've appreciated the Treasurer's Office time and time again, sharing out information on unclaimed property. I think it's some of the really great work that is done. But when this came down last week, and I started seeing photos of what was happening on our illegal gray machines, I instantly asked Representative Cupps to make sure that you are here to answer those questions. And so I hope that your statement answers the following. These are the three things that I want to know. And if they don't, I would like you to follow up with the information. My first is, were you aware that these decals, state decals using the state seal, were placed on illegal gray machines? Number two, how many decals were placed and on how many machines? And number three, when are they coming down? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ranking Member Nuremberg. Before you begin your prepared statement, the fact that you came into this committee with a prepared statement instead of making yourself available to answer honest questions. I mean, that right there. What's that grin mean?
I'm just waiting for what you want to tell me. Can I say my statement, or you want to ask?
I'm going to make you a deal this morning. What do you say? You and I'm going to make you a deal.
Mr. Chairman, I made a request that I would be allowed to read my statement.
And before I allow you to make that statement, I'm gonna make you a deal. Just cut the act. Just cut the act. I was told by numerous people to go easy on you. I'm a nice guy. I am. I'm a genuinely nice guy. When I say that, there's not very many situations I've been in where I'm not literally willing to just talk about it, no matter what's going on. But I'm going to make you a deal. I will cut the act, but you cut the act. I had numerous people tell me, oh, go easy on him. He's just such a nice guy. This is bad stuff. This is bad government. That grin, this is as bad as it gets. And I'm going to tell you why after I let you make the statement. But the deal is, you cut the act, I'll cut the act, because we got to figure out why we have some of the, as the ranking member stated, one of the most egregious things that I have ever seen a statewide elected official, whether it be in this state or any other state, ever do with his or her ability from that office. I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to allow you to make your statement. Are the decals, as of today, what is the date? February 27th, 2024, approximately 8:40 a.m. Are the decals still on the machines right now?
Mr. Chairman, to my knowledge, they are on some machines. They are not on all the machines.
Are the banners still on all the torch payout kiosks that have a state seal larger than Liberato here with your name attached to it? Is that banner still on all of the payout kiosks?
As I mentioned, I do not have the exact number, how many are there, but they are on the kiosks.
Between last week when we made this discovery and now, was there any correspondence from your office to the folks at Torch requesting that this be taken off of their illegal gambling machines?
Mr. Chairman, there has been no communication.
With that said, please proceed with your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This hearing is timely because February 1st was the Unclaimed Property Day, and I have spent a lot of time this month promoting the program. So I appreciate the chance to join you today. As of Monday, the State Treasurer's Office is holding nearly $1.5 billion in unclaimed money in more than 10 million open accounts. This is not state's money. It is Missourians' unclaimed money. It is state treasurer's job to safeguard it and return it. For the information of the committee, the Unclaimed Property Division has provided data for the amounts of unclaimed property or money and the number of unresolved accounts in each of your legislative districts, and I have made copies and provided one each to you who are present, which should be this one.
We don't need smoke screens. That's not what we're here about.
I also urge you to check for your own and your family's unclaimed money. I looked and I found
Once again,
that 8 members
get past
of the committee have money to claim. Please come get your money. I have also included in the packet for your information 3 examples of recent news articles with photos which show the standard signs we have provided to all 114 county treasurers. I have also included in each packet an example of the standard promotional sign that we have provided to each of the 176 state license fee offices for public display. I hope you will consider posting them in your office, and please let me know if you would like to have more. And I have included examples of unclaimed property promotional material from 2 of my predecessors. For comparison, my immediate predecessor, Scott Fitzpatrick, and former Treasurer Clint Zweifel. This is all to show you that the promotional message has been very consistent across administrations. And Mr. Chairman, I hand-delivered to you this morning the hard copy of my office's response to your sunshine request you made last Thursday. My office has also emailed the response to you this morning. It should be in your inbox or on the way right now. To save on printing costs, you may share the email copy with your colleagues. It runs 186 pages, many of them duplicative, but we are obliged to provide even duplicative material to meet your broad request. Mr. Chairman, you chose to request records under Sunshine Law, and my office has complied. My response would have been the same if you had simply picked up the phone and called me to request the same information. The Sunshine Law requires an acknowledgement within 3 working days and of the receipt of the request. We provided you with that acknowledgement yesterday, ahead of schedule, and today the response is in your hands.
Do you want a brownie point for doing a really good government thing while in the real world you're doing some of the worst government stuff that I think anyone on this committee, let alone in my adult lifetime, has ever seen from an office such as yours? You want a brownie point for the getting the sunshine request quickly? I will tell you, I thank you for that. I do thank you for that. It's this thick for anyone that's here. Going to take myself and my legislative assistant a minute or 2 to get through it. But I do genuinely thank you for that. The fact that you know how to do good stuff while also doing really bad stuff and not acknowledging it is the concerning part. Representative Nixon Clark had an inquiry, and I'm going to recognize her at this time.
To inquire.
Proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for being here. My concern is with respect to time, as you heard Mr. Chairman acknowledge that our families are here. My issue is that we were here last week and served a notice. We were here at 8 o'clock. You were not. We recessed until 9, and you were not here that time either, which is a major concern. And as we look at all of the information that was given to us this morning, you still haven't answered the questions. We know that you have to read your prepared statement. However, you still have not answered the questions. My question to you is, do you know how many of these labels were printed and distributed?
I do not have an exact number of how many of these labels, stickers, decals are there.
Okay.
We authorized Torch Electronics to have them placed. I do not know how many they have placed.
Okay. And so do you know the amount in your marketing budget that was used to print these labels? And so nobody knows how many of these labels were printed.
We did not print those labels. There was zero cost to taxpayers to print these labels.
Okay, I beg to differ, but okay. And so you said that these labels were distributed to 176 license fee offices, correct?
The posters that are in your packet were distributed to the 176 license fee offices. These are different from the decals that you mentioned before.
Okay, so how many decals were printed?
No, zero decals were printed.
So so these aren't decals? What are these?
But I cannot see what you're saying, showing.
That are placed on
These
the
are
illegal.
printed by Torch Electronics. We sent them an electronic copy of what they can print.
So you gave them permission, or they did it without permission?
We gave them permission.
In other words, how many decals would have been printed?
However many they want to print to place at their machines.
On illegal slot machines.
The gaming machines.
Illegal.
I
rest my case, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. I am going to go to Representative Hine, and then I need to get something off my chest.
Mr. Chairman, may I answer the question of the representative about where I was? Because I was asked where I was, did not show up.
Yeah, but I'm going to include something before I allow you to ask that. It's come out in I guess some news media outlets, some of those by subscription base, from my understanding this morning, that there were some folks with your team, that's their terminology, not mine, were saying that they felt like that last week was a political theater, that this is political theater, this is a political hit job. And I need to stress to anyone that's here that may be listening, to my own committee members, this is the furthest thing from political theater. The fact that you have anyone that you work with that would insinuate that frustrates me to a level that I'm really not going to belabor this morning, for the simple fact that this is bad stuff. And so if you're going to try to use the excuse of orchestrating bad stuff by trying to use an excuse that it's political, this is personal. This has gotten personal, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. I am going to allow you to answer the question as to where you were last week, but before you answer it, I need to stress to everyone that my office, my legislative assistant is sitting right behind me. My office reached out to you on numerous occasions, wanting to know if you could be there and when you could be there. We got a response back late in the evening, after hours. Correct me if I'm wrong. We'd have to verify the time. Somebody could sunshine my office and get this information if they wanted it. Numerous phone calls, emails, corresponding with you. So for you to say that you were given short notice, A, that's a lie. For you to say that you were not given a chance to say when you could meet, B, that's a lie. And then even on Wednesday, when I went down to the other hearing where you were testifying and literally asked you when you could meet, I said, when can you make it? We're in recess. We'll wait here all day. We'll wait here until tomorrow. When can you meet? I need to coordinate with my committee, but I have already talked to them, and we are willing to wait and meet with you whenever you can meet, because we have some really big questions that we need answers to. And you said, I'm not going to make myself available to your committee. And then you said that I was more than willing, or that I was more than able to come to your office and visit with you one-on-one, and that you would be there. So you would be in your office available for a one-on-one consultation with myself, but you would not be available to make yourself, or would not be able to make yourself available to this committee. This is not rhetoric. I am just setting the record straight from what you are trying to spin. You sent a 3-page letter to me on Friday when we were gone, trying to insinuate that it was short notice, trying to insinuate that my office had not reached out to you, trying to insinuate. All of that is bogus. Just bogus. And so we want to talk about political theater. That 3-page letter is political theater. I remember when I started to read that, I got about a third of the way through it, and I started laughing. Treasurer, I started laughing. I see you grinning too. That's because you probably laughed when you read it too. Thought, man, this is pretty slick. This is pretty slick. Well, it's not the truth. It may be pretty slick, but it's not the truth. We're here today to figure out the truth. So you can tell me what fake thing that you dreamed up as to why you couldn't meet with us on Wednesday. That's fine. Go ahead and tell this committee that. But the truth is, we reached out to you numerous times. We gave you numerous opportunities to tell us when you could meet. You want to know the part that really, really frustrated me that day? I'm trying to keep my cool here. But you want to know what really frustrated me? You didn't send anybody. You didn't send anyone. It's like you were making a mockery of this system. It's like you think this is a joke. I want to ask you this before you answer that question. Is this, because I see you grinning, is this a joke to you? Is this a joke to you?
Mr. Chairman, I am very serious with my job.
Proceed.
Madam Representative, I had prior commitment in another House committee that day, and I was testifying at 8:30 and then monitoring the committee discussion on one of my top legislative priorities to keep Missouri pension funds from being invested in America's adversaries. And I had appointments right after the committee meeting. And to answer Chairman Cupp's question, Chairman Cupps, I received the request on a state holiday on Monday, which was a state holiday, at 4:40 p.m. via email. We responded to that email request 9 a.m. Tuesday that there is a conflict and I will not be able to attend this hearing. And I can produce those records to you.
We're going to have to see those, yeah.
Sure. And thereafter, there was phone communication with my chief of staff from your chief of staff, where I said, I have already a pre-committed hearing, 8:30, and when you came...
Did your chief of staff tell you that Representative Cupps's office is reaching out to us, asking us when we can meet? Because I was there when the phone calls were made. Every single time we reached out to your office, we said, you tell us when you can meet. Was that information relayed to you?
The hearing was already set on the calendar. You had the hearing set already, and you were going to go forward with it. And Chairman Cupps, in all honesty and fairness to you and to me, I watched that video after that hearing. And when I watched the video of that hearing, you said you became aware of these decals on Monday, February the 12th. You did not bring them to me until 10 days later.
I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't believe it. You want to know what my first impression was? My first impression was that you had nothing to do with it. I spent the entire week driving around the entire state compiling data. Do you want to know why I was compiling data? I have over 750 pictures and videos on my phone right now of these decals and the banners on the payout kiosks, because what I was under the assumption that Torch was illicitly using a state seal in order to try to give the appearance that their games were operated by the state of Missouri. So before I said anything, I wanted to go get as much information as I could to show just how big, how large scale and scope this was, that because I made and this was misjudgment on my part. I assumed that literally as soon as I reached out to this was my biggest assumption. And I talked to 12 or 15 people about this. My biggest assumption was as soon as I reached out to your office that all of that stuff would get taken down. Now I actually maybe wish that assumption had been true. My assumption was that as soon as I reached out, within minutes, I assumed that I assumed it would be a scramble to get that stuff off those machines. And so I spent a week getting data because I thought, I wonder if Treasurer Malek even knows that this is taking place. Well, not only do you know that it's taking place, you authorize it, and you are refusing to admit that there's anything wrong with it. And so I reached out to you as soon as I had the data and the information compiled where I felt like and that's why I reached out to your office, because that's when I said we need to get some answers to questions like who all is involved in this. I had a list that I still have it. I guess I shouldn't lie. I said I threw it in the trash. I didn't throw it in the trash. I still have it. But I have a list of the questions that I wanted to ask you Wednesday. I had reworked that outline as to how I wanted the hearing to go. I was going to plan on going through that here this morning. But a lot of that stuff doesn't matter anymore for the simple fact that I thought you may be an innocent bystander in this situation. I thought there may be some bad actors doing some bad stuff to try to make illegal gaming machines appear as if they are operated by the state. But it turns out it was your idea. It was your idea. It wasn't even you authorized it. They came to me on Wednesday and told me it was your idea.
Mr. Cups, I suggest if you had, instead of making those assumptions, you would have just picked the phone and called me, I would give you the same information. And I have since learned that someone was sharing these photos that you shared with me this morning. The reporters before you ever reached out to me asked to appear before the committee. When you came to me to the other committee room, you did not even mention what this hearing was about. I had no understanding that you were going to discuss about the decals or any of that stuff. So I was completely in the dark, even with that 1 day notice, not even a 1 day notice that I had. And I have said repeatedly, I'm glad to discuss it with you as chairman, as I am mindful of the logistics for you to convene a full committee. And I am very happy and glad to discuss all of it today. I am not hiding away. I'm not shying away.
Well, I thank you for being here this morning. I kind of wish that, so I'll tell you this much, I wasn't here yesterday. I sold calves yesterday. I had a year's worth of hard work and toil that came to realization in one single day in about 10 minutes going through the sale ring yesterday. So I wasn't here, didn't get back to my house until about midnight. Well, a little after midnight. I think it was like 12:20 is when I got home last night, and I left my home this morning at 3:20. So I'm operating on about 3 hours of sleep. That may be the other reason that I'm just a little bit more frustrated than I normally would be. The real reason I'm frustrated is because of how Ranking Member Nurnberg's word egregious this is. I sure as heck wish that we could have got the answer to some of these questions last week when I wasn't living off 3 hours of sleep, but you couldn't make it then because you didn't want to, right?
That is not true. I already mentioned that I was in another committee hearing.
So when I went to that hearing and I asked you, can you come later in the day, we're in recess, you just tell me the time.
Mr. Chair.
Is it because you wanted to go get a story straight first? Be honest with this committee. It's because you wanted to go and get a story, you wanted to go circle the wagons and get the story straight before you came and answered questions for this committee.
Mr. Chairman, I mentioned to you at that committee in the break before we even started that I would be happy to meet with you and any members of the committee.
You'd be happy to meet with me offline, but you wouldn't be willing to come and answer questions to the public about why the state seal is on illegal gaming machines. What?
Mr. Chairman.
Do you not understand the gravity of this situation? Do you not understand the gravity of your own office?
As I mentioned, we received the request on a state holiday at 4:40 p.m. We had less than 1 day. There was no mention.
Less than 1 day to what? Come to us and tell us the truth? That's all we asked was for you to come before the committee.
This committee has pre-scheduled meetings. My day was also full that day, and I had.
So it was full, but you told me I could come to your office and meet with you. Representative Hine, you recognized for inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so you're here. So do you understand why we are concerned about placements of these decals and digital displays on machines? Do you understand why we have concerns?
I understand.
And what do you believe those concerns to be?
The concern, what I understand, is that these machines are unregulated by the state.
Correct. Right. That is a significant concern. I'm not going to get into the weeds of why he showed up, didn't show up, whatever. That is a significant concern and why we are here today. Who authorized the design of the decals in your office?
I authorized.
And did you authorize the use of the state seal on those decals?
Madam Representative, there is no state seal. It is a treasurer's seal.
So the treasurer's seal, which is an official seal of the government, is on the display.
So is my name.
And what do you think that projects to people who see those decals, your seal, your name on the machines?
It projects that I may have, whoever is looking at this decals, I may have unclaimed property. Let me search for it.
Do you also think that it could give the perception?
I'm going to remind you that you're under oath.
Yes, sir.
That these machines are legal and regulated by the state. Again, do you think that the decals could give the perception that these machines are regulated by the state?
The legality of these machines is still under purview of the state judicial branch. There has been no final decision made.
Do you feel like that puts the state in a compromising position when you put official seals on a machine that has not been regulated by the state?
Well, in that scenario, I would like to remind that there are still 3 days left for the legislature to file a bill, and that is in your court to take a decision and file the bill and either approve them or deny them. If these machines are gone, considered illegal, so the decals will be gone as well, along with the machines. You decide otherwise, they'll stay.
So why would you put the state in a compromising position? That's what I don't understand.
Well,
Why would you put the state in the compromising
These machines
position?
are already in the small businesses and convenience store and other locations. They are already operating.
That doesn't make them right. That doesn't make them regulated, does it? Just because they're operating does not make it legal, does not make it functional, does not make it regulated.
Does it make them illegal?
So is that how we're making our decisions in the state level? Well, it's not. Maybe it's not legal. Maybe it is legal.
Representative Hine, the ball is in the court of the judicial branch and the legislative branch.
But to some extent,
anybody's position, and I'll just make it very clear to the committee and Mr. Cupps. If it is about the morality of the question, and I'll say it very clearly, sinners and saints, both and all have unclaimed property. It is my job to return it to them, not to judge them for their decision.
So I would say, when you present your budget to our committee, it was never at one point in time given to us or disclosed that part of the marketing would be to put decals, put digital displays on unregulated VLTs. That was not in the plan. We heard mailings, we heard all other kinds of types of ways, and we supported that, right? This was not a way that we were, let me rephrase that. This was not an instrument that we were given information about that you would be using to market unclaimed property. We want unclaimed property to be returned to our constituents. Make no mistake about that. We want that to happen. So I'm going to ask you another thing. We've seen the Torch logo, so I'm assuming Torch is one group doing this. Are there any other companies that you have provided this design to that we should be aware of?
We have been in communication with Missouri Bankers Association and banks across the state to have these decals on ATM machines as well. And we have also, since today, we have also put a link on our website that if any business, public, private, wants to advertise unclaimed property, they can contact us to get relevant propaganda material for publication.
Do you have any plans to remove the decals or the digital displays from the machines?
At this point, that is not discussed in my office, Mr. Representative.
At this point, your answer is no? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
I will say, when I saw the images, my jaw dropped. I've seen a lot of things in my life, my jaw dropped. The fact that we would put the state in that type of position concerns me. It concerns me. I would hope that you would reconsider. I know in our city, we have pulled a lot of those machines due to city ordinance that was recently passed. Our city feels like they are an issue. So I feel like we've now put the state in a compromising position because of this decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Did you approach Torch or did they approach you?
I can give you the full scope of that, Mr. Chairman.
You know what? I'd love nothing more than the full scope, but I'd actually like it to be the truth.
Yes, the full scope, it will be with the truth. As I said, I am responsible and it is my name on the decals. I received a request in early August from Steve Tilley, the lobbyist for Torch Electronics, to meet with his client, Steve Miltenberger, the owner of Torch. We agreed to an introductory meeting on the evening of August 24th at Mr. Tilley's airplane hangar in Chesterfield. When I got there, I was introduced to Mr. Miltenberger as well as Mr. Tilley's partner, Tom Robbins, and his wife, Brittany Robbins. We all talked about our backgrounds, what I have done before. They asked me about my priorities as state treasurer. I replied that returning Missourians' unclaimed money is one of my key priorities, and I said I would appreciate any help in spreading the word. They expressed that they had a lot of machines located in high traffic areas, such as convenience stores and gas stations. And I told them that I have had discussions with both Missouri Bankers Association and individual banks about promoting the unclaimed property program on thousands of ATMs across the state. I suggested maybe the same decal would work for them. They liked the idea and we verbally agreed to follow up. In early October, I asked my chief of staff, Ray Bozarth, to respond to follow-ups from Tom and Brittany Robbins, and he did. And their text exchanges are in the materials my office supplied to you today as your sunshine request. Torch offered its own decal design, but I directed my staff to provide the standard message we use everywhere. The State Treasurer's Office provided the standard design to Torch, and Torch paid for the cost. Taxpayers paid nothing. The Sunshine Law response shows the company asked for permission to use the designs, and we replied that was sometime in early January. And I quote, "We would allow any constituent an opportunity like this to promote unclaimed property."
So why do you think they want the ability to use the design?
Well, I just explained. I
Do
approached
you,
them
I mean, in your honest opinion, do you think it is to give the appearance as if their illicit gambling machines are operated by the state?
The timeline of this whole thing is from August through January.
In your opinion, do you think that...
I am subject to only my opinion, Mr. Chairman. I can tell my opinion was, if I can get a help to spread the word more and more, that's
I guess
all
you're going back on our deal that we're gonna cut
I
the
cannot
act.
put somebody else's words in my mouth, sir.
I'm gonna go to Ranking Member Nerman at this time. You're recognized for inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, before we proceed, I would ask that the sign behind the treasurer be put down, if that's still up, as that is a prop and perfectly in the camera right now.
What is that?
It was simply the poster for the unclaimed property. In our house rules, we do not allow props, and so I would ask that
This is not a prop, just to provide
Mr.
you.
Treasurer, those are our
that's
house
fine.
rules.
We will take down.
Okay.
And this is all just to show every committee member that this is the decal design, which was exactly placed and is placed at the same banner design. It's a standard design that my office has used.
Okay, so I want to try to paint a picture of how I interpret what has happened, okay? When I see something that is clearly sanctioned by the state, right? It's a decal, it has official, everything about it looks very official. Your state treasurer seal, you know, we have everything from the outline of Missouri, the website where people can go and verify this. It looks like I am going to insert money into this machine and it is going to give me money back. That is literally how I interpret this. I can't even begin to explain how troubling it is that you think that it would be okay to place this on an ATM where people are going to get money and they literally think the state is going to give me money out of this. As an educated person, this is what that looks like to me. I can't even imagine for those who have problems with gambling, how troubling this is. They would sit there all day thinking that the state is going to feed them money. Mr. Treasurer, I just want to paint a picture for you. When I see our state highway patrol cars, I am in awe and respect of what they do to protect our citizens. When I drive this route to Jefferson City, I see our highway patrol there, the clear logo of highway patrol, and I know that they're looking out for my best interests and the interests of everybody who's traveling our roads. What you have done with your office is as if the highway patrol posted decals all over their patrol cars with smoke weed. Want to help the economy? Smoke weed. And that would have been pre-legalization of weed. That is how egregious this is. It is using official state property, right? Official state seal, and that's what this is, on something that is not okay and problematic at best. Mr. Treasurer, you yourself in your letter said that you understand the complexities surrounding these machines. You yourself wrote that you understand that this has not been decided by the court, that the legality of these decisions on these machines is still tied up in the courts. I hope you've read our Missouri Constitution. And I say that very sincerely. I hope you've read it. I hope you understand what Missouri Constitution Article 3, Section 39 says. Games of chance are permitted in gambling excursion boats only on the Mississippi and Missouri rivers. The provision says nothing, Mr. Treasurer. This provision says nothing about games of chance in gas stations, truck stops, smoke shops, etc. I was hoping that you would come here today and apologize for what had happened and issue that sincere apology and said all of this has been taken down. We have used letters at these machines to post that these were not sanctioned by the state. Our office accepts all responsibility. But at this point, Mr. Treasurer, I hope the governor who has appointed you has very serious, shares his concerns of what has happened here. Ask that you make amends, and if not, I think we should see very serious repercussions. I would like to ask one more time, based on what you have heard today, this is not a partisan thing, it's not political theater, this is extreme concerns from Missouri House of Representative members across the political spectrum saying what your office has done is wrong. Will you issue a decree to take these decals down? Yes or no?
At this point, Madam Representative, we have not discussed that issue.
Mr. Treasurer, do you understand how serious this is? Yes or no?
I understand the whole issue very clearly, Madam Representative.
Why you are
The
literally
analogy you provided about a state trooper's car posting,
got weed? Smoke weed?
that's a incorrect analogy because that's a state putting some privates.
No, it's absolutely a perfect
It is
analogy,
not.
Mr.
We are
Treasurer.
not.
It's
We
a
are not.
perfect
We are
analogy
not
saying,
putting-
hey, want to help the economy? Do this, right? On something that's problematic behavior before legalization of weed, right? That's what this would have been, Mr. Treasurer. What you are doing, these machines are unregulated. People can spend the entire day at these machines, literally spending away every dime of their paycheck because they think they're finally going to get state money.
My only intent yesterday, today, and tomorrow is returning Missourians' unclaimed money.
Mr. Treasurer, there are lots of ways
I-
to do that. I'm going to stop you right here. We're hearing the same thing over and over again, and I feel like we're not getting anywhere. So what I'm going to ask right now I'm going to ask for some meetings with the governor's office. I hope that we all can sit down and others explain the gravity of this situation. There are a lot of ways to advertise unclaimed property.
And we are
through
doing that.
billboards, through digital advertising in newspapers, etc. What is not okay under any condition is placing state treasurer decals on illegal gambling machines. Mr. Treasurer, you yourself in your letter wrote this. You understand that this is all in the courts right now, but you're continuing to proceed with
Can you
this.
quote my letter, please, Madam Representative, what I wrote?
Give me a moment. I know that we have it here. Do you have the letter before you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you do state no final court decision on the legality has come from any court. And again, I am going to go back to the Missouri Constitution, Article 3, Section 39E, where the General Assembly authorizes the General Assembly to permit where certain gambling may take place. And this is where I read from the Constitution before. Right now,
This is not my quote from the letter. I asked you if you can quote me from my letter.
and I did. I'm sorry. I already did. And then I went back to our Missouri Constitution. Mr. Treasurer, I know that you are new to this elected office, and this is why I'm trying to give you a lot of grace. However, this issue of gray machines coupled with sports betting is something that the General Assembly has grappled with for years. If you were familiar with how this General Assembly has been tied up on this very issue for years, you never, ever would have thought that it was okay to sanction the use of your state treasurer's office to place seals on what many in this General Assembly believe are illegal. Now, I want to know, Torch paid for these stickers and decals to be printed. Is that correct?
The state did not pay anything.
I want to know who paid for them.
It's obvious they probably paid.
Okay. So we now have private companies that was never authorized under the General Assembly, under the Budget Office, through Appropriations. We are now giving private companies permission to advertise wherever they so desire, because now that Torch has the original, they can do whatever they want with this, right? I mean, I'm just thinking, again, this is an assumption, but I'm just saying that alone is so problematic, Mr. Treasurer. And I ask that you issue a decree today that every single one of these stickers is removed, every single decal is removed, with an issue, by issuing a letter, a mea culpa, if you will, saying what you did was wrong, and these are not sanctioned state machines, period. And if you don't, I really hope the governor's office will act quickly and swiftly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a couple of people I know that I've told that I was going to allow to inquire. I want to go through something that happened to me personally this weekend that actually, to me, was life-changing. I've kind of gotten in a routine in my everyday ranching life where there's not a lot that happens that I would classify as life-changing. This particular incident was. Naturally, you know that I spent a lot of my own personal time and resources last week trying to figure out just exactly what was going on here. That's because I'm a state representative and my constituents really fundamentally have a problem with what's taking place, and I was trying to get some facts before I tried to figure out who all may potentially be involved. With that said, after church on Sunday, well, it was after that. It was in the evening because my brother had actually given me a ride to a feed truck that we had already had loaded that morning. And before going to feed some cattle, him and I stopped at the place that we stop at many times a day when we're in town to get a Diet Coke. There was a gentleman there. I'd seen him there last week. And I actually asked him, I'm definitely not going to mention his name this morning. He's actually not a Missouri resident. That's the ironic part. I asked him if I could use this picture, and he did give me permission. That is the gentleman, the picture that I provided the committee this morning. Over the course of the last week, I have watched him put thousands and thousands of dollars into these machines. And at first, my brother and I as a Christian guy, I'm ashamed to admit this. We judged that guy when we first saw it last week. We laughed at him, said he had a gambling addiction, made fun of him. When we were leaving there, I said some things about him that I'm embarrassed that I said. I then said some things about the fact that the state seal was on the machines, but we won't get into that this morning. Sunday, I watched him put a couple more $1,000s into these machines just in the amount of time that I was there. Now, granted, we sat there a minute. There's a picnic table. That's where he's sitting on in the picture I provided you. And it got to me. It got to me because he ran out of money. And then I saw him in the parking lot asking some friends of mine if they would be interested in purchasing some tools and some welding rod. And then you have to remember, when you're in a rural area and you see somebody trying to sell something in a gas station parking lot, what do you make the assumption? You make the assumption they might be on methamphetamines and that stuff might be stolen. So that's when I really started getting interested. So I went up to him and I said, hey, what do you got? He said, I'll cut you a really good deal on I got some bottle jacks, the hydraulic bottle jacks. He was going to sell me like $600 worth of really heavy duty, like industrial bottle jacks. He wanted $40 for all of them. He was going to sell me what looked to be brand new in the packaging, still wrapped. You have to remember, I was an ag teacher, and so I know what welding rod cost. So he was going to sell me, hundreds of dollars, if not close to $1,000 worth of welding rod. He wanted $50 for that. So I asked him, I said, is this stuff stolen? I just point blank asked him. I looked at his eye. He said, no. He said, it's not. And I could tell that he wasn't on drugs. You can tell. You can. I don't know if you can tell, but I can tell. I can tell he wasn't on drugs. And so I was like, I wonder what's going on here. And I said, hey, I don't need anything right now, but, I just was making sure that this might not be. I said something funny. I said something it's probably kind of mean. I said, just making sure it wasn't mine. Because we've had folks steal stuff from us before. And he kind of chuckled. He said, no, it was my dad's. He said, my dad passed away recently. It's all his stuff. And I said, oh, okay. And then fast forward a little bit. I stopped back there, and you want to know something? He'd found somebody. Somebody had bought that stuff from him. He'd gotten a little bit of money, and I watched him, and he went right back, and he put it in those machines. And that's when I started feeling bad, like really bad. So you want to know what I did, Treasurer? I got to thinking about what the sermon had been about that morning. So I went to my truck, and I got my phone. My phone was on the charger in the feed truck. And I got the problem gambling hotline number. I should have it in my, I should have it memorized, but I had it in my phone, or I Googled it, came up, and I took out one of my business cards, which I did have in my wallet, and I wrote that on the back of the business card, and I went to him and I said, hey, man, I know I don't look the part right now. I looked pretty ranchy. I said, but I'm actually state representative. I've seen you here all week. I've seen how much money you've put in those machines. And I wrote down the number for the problem gambling hotline. I said, you're not going to find it on these machines anywhere. Nowhere, by the way. Nowhere. Not on your sticker. Sure as heck not on your sticker. And I gave him that card. And I said, I know you're not on drugs. I can tell you're not on drugs. I said, but this may be worse. I said, I know you may be dealing with some stuff. You said your dad had passed away. And I said, I genuinely feel bad. I said, I know you're not from around here because I hadn't seen you until this week. And I gave him that card, to which he kind of started to cry. I would call it a man cry, maybe like half a tear, kind of caught himself. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I lost my mom. I lost my mom a few years back. He told me that a number of years. And then he said, then I went through a pretty bad divorce. And he said, my dad and I had kind of, he said, we had a rough spell when I was younger. And we'd kind of patched through that, and things were just starting to get good between us, and he passed away. He said, I'm not going to lie. He looked me dead in the eyes, Treasurer. He said, I'm not going to lie. He said, things have been pretty bad for me recently. My life's been pretty rough, and I wish I had that recorded. I wish I had it recorded. You want to know why? I'd go around to high schools, and I'd show it to folks like my former students. I've had it pretty bad here recently. But if I could just win that $1 billion, man, he said, $1 billion. He said that would change everything. Guess who started to cry then, Treasurer? I did. I haven't cried in a couple years. I started to cry. You understand why I'm frustrated? You understand why I'm emotional this morning? He sat back there and put all the money he had into those machines because of the spot he was in his life, because he thought that he had a chance to win $1 billion. Why do you think he thought he had a chance to win $1 billion? I don't know. Maybe it's because it says real huge on the top of the kiosk, $1 billion, it could be yours. I told you to cut the act, but you didn't. I wanted to make a deal with you this morning, but you have no desire to come to this committee and be honest. You were honest about that. I fully believe that there was a deal made. I fully believe that there was a deal made. I didn't know that it was made in an airplane hangar.
Mr. Chairman.
Steve Tilley and you in an airplane hangar talking about how, man, if we could use your official office seal and your name and put it on all our machines. And you want to know what? You want to know what would be the perfect time? You think I haven't done my homework? I asked you if you thought this was a joke. Do you want to know what the perfect time for these machines is? The perfect time for these machines is right when everybody's getting their tax refunds. I talked to 3 other people that operate these machines. I actually talked to them this last week to ask them if you had reached out to them and asked if you could advertise on their games. They all told me no. And so, in the process of reaching out to them, I found it kind of ironic because I didn't even think about this. They said, yeah, he said, boy, that's Torch just working their magic. That's Torch just working their magic. Boy, it sure is convenient that they give the impression that these machines are not only operated by the state, but that you could win $1 billion right before everybody gets their tax refund. It's kind of ironic that you guys started talking about this 6 months ago? But right before everybody gets their tax refund is right when all the machines now say $1 billion on them with the state seal?
Mr. Chairman, we have also been approached by the casinos to have these banners placed at their locations. We are also going to be approaching the Missouri Lottery to have.
You just really don't get it, do you? You just really don't get it.
As I may say, Mr. Chairman, I am not here to judge Missourians who gamble. I am the state treasurer. I am not the state pastor. Missourians have the freedom to spend their money on their own, and I just want to help reclaim money that is right.
Why are you reading right now? What? I didn't ask you to come before this committee and read fake prepared statements. I asked you to come before this committee and just answer questions as to how this could even be. I guess the question I would have is, how many people in your office told you this was a horrible idea? And are those people, are they scared of you? Because if I worked for you and something like this was getting ready to take place, I would not let you do it. I'm like, this is the worst idea ever. So clearly the forces of the deal that was made in that airplane hangar are stronger than really smart people trying to advise you not to do really bad things. Man, those are strong forces. Gosh. This is the fact that you are talking in circles saying that you have no intention to remove this from these machines, even when you know what's taking place. Representative Nixon Clark, did you have an inquiry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're recognized.
Thank you. I think we've been here for over an hour now, and you've read and read and read and read. And so some of the questions that were asked was, how many decals? You don't know. Your answer was you don't know. When are they coming down? The answer was no to that. They're not coming down. Were you aware? Yes, you were aware. But to see you doubling down here today is very disappointing. You may feel that the gambling machines are not illegal or legal, which is perfectly fine. Who benefits from those machines?
I believe I know the answer as much as you do, Representative.
I'm sorry.
You probably know the answer as much as I do.
I'm asking you.
The convenience store owners who have these placed in their stores, the gas stations, the machine owners.
Do you benefit from these machines?
I do not.
Okay.
I benefit in only one way. As Mr. Cups also, I think it worked, as he went into the convenience store and he looked at those machines, and I'm sure he was not playing them, but he also saw the sticker that caught his eye. And that is the only purpose I have, that Missourians who are coming to these locations, they look and they then claim their unclaimed property.
So as you stated, saints and sinners. Saints and sinners in your testimony this morning. I was very confused as to that analogy, why we would mention the saints and sinners, but however you did. And so the conversation in the airplane hangar, was this conversation prior to you becoming treasurer or after?
I just mentioned the timeline. It was August, early August when I was approached, August 24th when I met.
What year? I'm sorry.
2023.
Okay, so you were in office. Okay. I'm going to rest there and give my time to my colleagues. But however, we still haven't, even an hour into this discussion, we still haven't reached the capacity of why they were there, which you're saying you're trying to do the unclaimed property. Are you trying to strategically target a certain demographic of people?
I'm trying to target Missourians who have their unclaimed property.
So you said, refresh my memory, where else are these decals
We are working
placed?
with the banks to have them placed on ATMs. We are working with, we have already worked with 176 license fee offices where these posters that is in your packet are already placed. I am aggressive in my stance to have them placed at, we have these at all 114 county courthouses, banners which tell that they have unclaimed property because the traffic that goes through the county courthouses, people can scan the QR code and find their unclaimed property, and so is in the convenience stores.
So again, I would question why they are placed on these machines. They're not placed at golf courses. They're not placed at upper echelon places as well. They are strategically placed on gaming machines. So when you talk about reaching the masses, again, courthouses, license places, casino machines, are you targeting a certain demographic of people?
All Missourians traffic these places, whether it is convenience stores, courthouses, license fee offices, campus. I don't understand your question.
So the wealthy doesn't need to know that they may have unclaimed property?
Who?
The wealthy.
Yes, they do.
Sure. So why aren't they placed?
It's a process. It has been only a year for me into the office, and I am doing my best to get it across, the word across. I have returned more unclaimed property in my last 1 year than any other treasurer in the past in their history. The last record was $49 million. I have returned more than $55 million. And this year, Mr. Cups is witness to that. I have asked for $70 million in appropriation for unclaimed property. So I'm doing my best.
You're doing your best. And so you're doing your best, again, by putting them on illegal gaming machines. And you don't plan to take them down. And if you can't understand, hold on, Mr. Treasurer, please don't interrupt me. If you can't understand where we are today, and with the countless outpouring of constituents' concerns and this budget committee, so everybody's wrong but your office. And if you can't understand the picture of what everyone's concerns are, then I think that's the bigger problem here. That's the bigger issue here.
Representative, as I mentioned, there are still 3 more days left, and the ball is in legislature's court. You can name them illegal and pass a bill, and these decals along with these machines will be out of the state.
But until legislation is passed, they will stay there.
There is no final verdict on these.
But until legislation pass, with the concerns of where we are today, they will stay there, is what you're testifying.
This is my decision, and I stand behind it.
Thank you so much.
We have a couple other inquiries, and I want to make sure I get to them. The fact of the matter is, this decision was not made. I'm going to say it. This is the chair's opinion. The fact of the matter is, this decision was not made to try to return unclaimed property to anybody. And you're very well coached this morning. I tried making a deal with you to just be square with us, but you're doing good. I'm sure your folks that have been watching are proud of you. The citizens of the state of Missouri are not proud of you. In fact, everyone that I've made aware of this has a fundamental problem with it, because every single one of them, every single person that I've talked to about this is smart enough to know that this was simply done to give these machines the appearance as if they are operated by the state. Do you want to know how I know that? Because out of 18 places that I actually was able to talk with someone, 18 places I talked with someone. Not all of these machines have the kiosk. I guess you got to have, some you still have to go up to the clerk, get the cash out there. Out of 18 places that I was able to talk to someone, every one of the managers told me that these are now operated by the state. Not that the state treasurer was trying to advertise for unclaimed property. No one said a word. I've got pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures of people playing these things, and I just waded right in and talked to them. And there wasn't a single soul, not a single one out of hundreds. Not a single one that had a clue that had anything to do with unclaimed property. They just simply thought that was there because these are operated by the state of Missouri. That's the truth. You're going through this dog and pony show this morning, and that's exactly what it is, because none of this was ever done with the intention. I see your grin.
I'm not. I'm just as I am.
Not a single bit of this was done with the intention of trying to actually return unclaimed property to anyone that would walk through and see this. This was done to give these machines the appearance as if they are operated by the state of Missouri. Period.
Mr. Chairman, in the packet I distributed this morning, there are at least 3 articles. There are more out there in the public domain to every county that I have visited. And next 3 days, I am doing the same thing again, going through county to county, and you can see the pictures in these articles. It is a standard messaging that we have.
Did you talk to the Missouri Lottery to see if you could? They've got a kiosk in every convenience store? Did you ask them if you could advertise on their kiosk? Did you talk to the Missouri Department of Conservation? They've got kiosks for hunting and fishing permits. Did you ask if you could put a QR code on any of theirs advertising unclaimed property?
As I mentioned, these discussions are going to happen and are in process.
Oh, they are going to happen. So we already worked a deal with Torch to give the appearance as if their machines are operated by the state, but we haven't reached out to other official state agencies to ask if they'd be willing to partner. That's second. Representative Strickler, you are recognized for an inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thanks for being here, Mr. Treasurer. I have concerns like you've heard many of along the way. I come from the corporate world, and I believe you're pretty familiar with the corporate world as well. Most marketing campaigns have limits on where they want to market and not market. And clearly, many on the committee here feel like this is an area where they wished we hadn't marketed or advertised. Are there any places, and I get trying to get the word out, I really do. I'm so glad you're pushing for that. I think I have concerns about this particular one. And I also am worried that there may be other ones that I don't know about. Are there any places that we won't put these stickers? Strip joints? Porn magazines?
Representative, I don't know who would have the focus of attention at those locations at these stickers.
I'm not sure I understood that response. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
If you're trying to say if somebody's going to a strip joint, I don't know if somebody will be paying attention to anything else than what they're going there for. And that is a decision that will lie with me, and I'll make a decision per case basis when I see them.
Okay. So it doesn't, I guess my concern is it doesn't sound like there are, I'll try again. Are there bounds on where we won't put these?
As I said, as they come in front of me where they are being requested to be placed, I'll make that decision.
Okay, so one off. I guess I see some of that. I'm a little concerned. You mentioned there is a link on the website where if anyone wants to, was that where they can download like this messaging?
They cannot download directly. They will contact the treasurer's office,
okay,
and then we will, based on which business is asking for them, we'll make a decision whether we want to give it to them or not.
Okay, that makes me feel better. There for a moment I was thinking that anyone could use that. I think two thoughts to comment, Mr. Chair. I think that there's the state of Missouri. We represent the state, whether it's in the executive branch, the legislative branch, all that. But we try to protect the brand, if you will, of the state of Missouri, and that's where I am not a little concerned. I am concerned about kind of the seal of approval, and I know it's not the state seal, it's your treasurer's seal, but no one can tell the difference. So I am concerned about the branding approval that this gives. I hadn't honestly, before today's hearing, and I saw the pictures of this, I hadn't even thought about the idea of the $1 billion on something where people are trying to win money. That surprised me even more and does concern me because of the location. So I would just add my concern that we be very thoughtful in where these are, and I would, as well as the others on the committee, ask that you rethink this decision for sort of, because I just don't think our citizens want to have this endorsed, and even if it were legal, which it's not now, I don't think they would want. I think that's a choice we have to make as to where we want to put that. So, with that, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Yeah, it's genuinely, like, actually literally hard to believe for people, with these people that I have told, all those people that I discussed with you. I suppose you should know. When I tell them, no, these aren't operated by the state. I was in branch clothes, so every one of them looked at me like, yeah, they are. Who are you? Of course they're operated by the state. Just look at them. They have the state stuff all over them. There's no way the state of Missouri would let that stuff be put all over those if they weren't operated by the state. To which I say, no. That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's why I'm here. That's why I've been taking some pictures. And then I say, I think that maybe either this, you have to remember, this was last week before I knew that this was your idea. I said, I either think that they are doing this on their own to give the appearance as if their machines are operated by the state, or I think that the treasurer has worked a deal to authorize the use of this logo to give the appearance that these are operated by the state. But they're not operated by the state, to which every single person I told that to was just shocked. And then when I told them I was a state representative, they're like, oh my gosh, you have got to do. There were two people that gave me the number to their sheriff. Said, call him, he's a good dude, he can help you figure this out. Because there was no way they thought that this was even at all something that should be allowed. I know you've grinned a lot at me here this morning. I guess we're having fun, right? I asked if you were a joke. I asked if this was a joke. It's not a joke to me. It's not a joke to my constituents. The reality is, that we have a state treasurer that would work a deal to allow his seal, the modified state seal, and his name, and the term $1 billion, to authorize that to be put on illegal gambling machines to create the impression that they are not only operated by the state, but that you could win $1 billion. The fact that we have a state treasurer that would do that everyone that I told that to demanded. They didn't ask me after they knew I was a state representative. They demanded, oh my gosh, that's a bad man. If he has any part of that, he's a bad guy. Clearly that's corruption. Clearly there's something going on there. That's bad stuff. Will you please do something about that? Every single person asked me, once they knew that I was a state representative, oh, you have got to make this stop. That's bad people doing bad things. Please make that stop. That's what the citizens of the state of Missouri told me. And you're here this morning going through a dog and pony show telling us that you're just trying to return unclaimed property. Representative Nurnberg, I believe you had an inquiry.
Yes, and I'm sorry to go back again, but as we've gone through the hearing, some more questions have come up. Again, just trying to get a clear picture of what happened. So did Steve Tilley propose this to you?
I just told you, they asked me what are my priorities in the treasurer's office, and I told what my priorities are.
No, but did he propose using these labels on torch machines? Yes or no?
I said, since we are talking with the banks, maybe the same decals can work for you.
Okay, so you proposed that then to Steve Tilley and Torch. You proposed this and not the other way around?
No. I did.
You proposed this. Okay. Do you have proposed this to casinos?
Yes, there are.
Do you know which casinos?
Century Casino in Southeast Missouri,
So only one casino?
so far.
Okay. Casinos, and Mr. Treasurer, I remind you of this just because we've had a lot of discussion as to whether this is legal or illegal. Casinos are regulated.
So gambling is okay.
Casinos are regulated. Mr. Treasurer, I'm just going to share this, right? They are regulated. There are limits, loss limits as well, right? The revenue from casinos goes to public education, higher ed, and back to the taxpayers. Casinos are regulated, so there's a difference there. Although this has been regulated, it has been both through statute and approved by Missouri voters, I would be adamantly opposed to using the state treasurer's office to advertise in casinos. I think that is inherently wrong. That again, you are looking to show Missouri citizens who have unclaimed property, well, keep going because you can earn $1 billion. That's what this looks like to the average person. That's what it looks like to me. Somebody who's educated, somebody who's a legislator, that is what that looks like to me, Mr. Treasurer. Mr. Treasurer, one more thing here. When we look at using and advertising through our license offices, folks know that that is a place that is essentially more or less sanctioned by the state, right? They're privately operated license offices, but they know that is where they go to get their driver's license, take care of state business. And so I see that being completely fine. I see posters in courthouses. Again, that is in line with all things that are sanctioned by state business. Using state representatives to use their office to tell their constituents, hey, by the way, you have unclaimed property, come and get it. That is completely permissible. Anything that is problematic behavior that you're showing, hey, keep going because you can win $1 billion is very concerning. And the fact that you continue to want to expand this, that's what is so problematic to me, Mr. Treasurer. The fact that you continue to say, I want to continue to expand this. Use other forms of advertising. Do not go after problem gaming. And Mr. Treasurer, last thing I want to know. You are new to this office. You've shared that we all know that you were appointed by Governor Parson about a year ago, a little over a year ago. Who is in charge in your office for the division of unclaimed property?
Mr. Scott Harper.
Did you discuss this program with Mr. Scott Harper?
He's aware of it.
Okay. He's aware of it. So what was his feedback when you proposed this program to him, this form of advertising to Mr. Harper?
After this meeting, I had discussed this idea with my senior staff.
So I do want to interrupt and state I had a representative of myself reach out to unclaimed property in that time frame that you discussed because I was curious if your own staff was aware of this, and they were not. So you say that Scott Harper is aware of it. He's aware of it now since our hearing. He was not aware of it when it was taking place. So in the sake of being truthful and honest here this morning, he was not aware of it when it was taking place. He only became aware of it once folks that I had reach out to him had inquired as if he knew about it.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would just like to ask that question. Did you discuss this with Mr. Harper before you sent the decals to Torch?
No.
Okay. Mr. Harper, and I believe I've had conversations with him really praising the work of the Office of the Treasurer with past treasurers as well, with the advertising that goes out, the amount of emphasis the office places on giving citizens the property that is rightfully theirs. So I've had extensive conversations with him in the past about this, and I think he came up and thanked me for always singing the praises of unclaimed property in the past. That is not the case today in this program. Mr. Treasurer, when you have folks in your office who have been there before you were, That is what these folks are for. And I would like to, I do think that oversight in this is very important. And I don't, is Mr. Harper with us today? I don't see him here with us. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask that he testify before this committee. And the reason why is that I think it's very important that we truly get down to brass tacks. How has this office been used in the past for advertising unclaimed property? Let's get a breakdown on the treasurer office was singing praises of his office and the fact that they've returned more unclaimed property. I want to know how other treasurers did it in the past, and if folks in that office believe that this is a good use of resources.
I will make that request because I think that would be good to give this committee a little more of the information that we would actually like to know as to how this is coming back, because that's what it's turned into, is like how the main thing this has turned into now, Treasurer, and I know you know this, even if you're going to pretend like you don't. The main thing this has turned into now is like, how in the world are we in a spot where this could even happen? Where we would even let something so egregious happen? And so I feel sorry for your staff. I do. It's like I sit here and I look at some of them that are sitting behind you today, and it's cringeworthy because they know the truth. I mean, people are smart. The citizens of the state of Missouri are not dumb people, just like the ones I was telling you about. The only ones that I feel sorry for are the ones that are vulnerable because they see that $1 billion. They might be having something really wrong in their life, and so they get caught up in trying to get that $1 billion because that's what would change everything. But that's all bogus. I have a couple inquiries. I'm going to go to Representative Hine, and then I'm going to go to Representative Sharp. I just want to keep it lined up, and then I'll go to Representative Christian to finish up. Unless there's anything else pressing, that's the order I'm going to go in. And then I'm going to right now, I would like a commitment from you that you will return to this committee once we have a chance to go through this stack. And I do thank you. If there's anything I'm going to thank you for doing, it's doing good government stuff and getting that sunshine request to us in a very timely manner. So thank you for that. I do thank you for being honest with us where that meeting took place, who was involved in it. I don't believe, man to man between you and I, you're a smart guy. You are. You're a smart guy. I've dealt with smart guys before. You're a smart guy. I don't think that conversation was, I'm really passionate about making sure that I try to get unclaimed property back to people, and therefore we should probably, do you have any ideas? And them saying, oh, you know what? We've got a lot of these illegal gaming machines that we could put these stickers on. That may be able to help you out, Mr. Treasurer. Oh, gosh, yeah, let's do that. I don't think that's how the conversation went. I don't. I don't have, I don't have any evidence to the contrary, but you're a smart guy. You know how bad this is. That's not how that went down. But I do thank you in telling us who was involved, the timeline, and kind of how we got to where we are today. With that, I would like a commitment that you're going to come back, bring those folks, and I'll work with you as to the time.
Yes, I would be very much willing to come back
Okay.
as long as the time is convenient, because everybody has commitments, and I will definitely be open to
Great. With that, Representative Hine, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to bring this back to an appropriations point of view. So we heard testimony on your budget, and there were line items for marketing of the unclaimed property, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see your marketing plan for the unclaimed property, including paid marketing as well as gift-in-kind marketing. And I'd like that to be very detailed so we know how this money, how resources are going to be utilized. Because we're in a really tight crunch right now where the House is trying to pass a budget. And at this point, I'm questioning, and I don't like to do this. I don't like to get into the weeds. But I'm at a point where I'm questioning the judgment of how marketing decisions are being made. So I would like to see the marketing plan for this particular item detailed.
Sure, we would be happy to provide that. And just for the record, there's not a single penny spent of taxpayers' money on this issue.
And and that's why I asked for not only paid marketing, but also any gift in kind. And if it is advertising that Torch is doing, it would typically be considered some type of gift in kind.
To the government.
So any free advertising, how about that? So I want to see your paid advertising and free advertising.
Sure, we'd be happy to provide.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Sharp, you are recognized for an inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just really a comment, really. This is weird to look at. It's really weird to look at. I didn't want to pile on, and I wasn't going to get involved in this conversation, but seeing it with my eyes now, it hits differently. The brand. We've talked a little bit about that today. The brand of Missouri. Personally, I don't want to walk into any place and see this on these VLTs, and to see it electronically embedded into the system is just odd to look at. You keep mentioning that we didn't spend anything on it. Well, I'd hope so. I hope we didn't spend anything on it. But it's the optics of it. I mean, we are not a payday loan company. I don't want to see this on these things. Maybe on a window at a gas station, maybe. But it's to see it in this capacity. It's just odd. And surely, and I'm not trying to change this to an inquiry, but surely you gotta believe deep down inside with that $1 billion on there, that's misleading. I mean, come on. This was just a bad idea. I really hope that we're considering walking this back and changing how we approach being aggressive with trying to return unclaimed property.
I think I was even quoted as saying how odd this is. The fact that we're even here talking about this. Odd that's an understatement of all understatements. Just how odd it is that we are here discussing that the state seal is being placed with permission on these illegal gambling machines to give the appearance, period. You know that's true. To give the appearance as if they're operated by the state. And you're not only saying, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. Man, we better get that off. You're not even saying that. You're doubling down. That's the oddest part. It's like, man, this goes deep, doesn't it? Jeez. Representative Christensen, you are recognized for inquiry.
Save the best for last. Thank you. I had the same kind of question as Representative Hine did. And I just want to reiterate, I think it'd be great to know where the majority of our marketing money is going. And then another question maybe for you, State Treasurer. And I want to add, my family and I did get all our unclaimed property. It was pennies. And my family's like, why are we doing this? And I'm like, it's important. But I will add that it was because of the treasurer. They were very helpful. And I really appreciated their office in that. But before we end, I think we just need to get a full picture of everything. Was there anything you wanted to add before we close the committee, State Treasurer?
All I would say is that the designs are same or similar as we have seen in the past treasures, which I have presented in the packet. And this is the same design that we have used in all our banners, props. There's anything extra that is trying to show that these are by any means state regulated. And I think Missourians are smart enough where they have seen these signs at different places. They can very well distinguish this is just a messaging to get their unclaimed property back. That's what Mr. Cups already stated, that Missourians are smart, and I hope they are smart enough to understand that.
Thank you.
Well, out of the 100 plus or minus that I talked to, all told me that they were operated by the state of Missouri now. So I appreciate your bogus rhetoric. I appreciate your skill and your ability to come to this committee and deliver it. But I do not appreciate the mockery that you have made of the state treasurer's office by doing this. The state treasurer of the, I'm going to finish today by saying the state treasurer of the state of Missouri is a very prestigious office. You talk about political theater. I'm accused of political theater. Your team accused me of political theater while you have made a mockery of one of the highest offices in the state of Missouri. Let that sink in. Your legacy will go down as making a mockery of the state treasurer's office. One of my best friends, the gentleman whose spot I took in this body, was the state treasurer. And I remember when he was appointed to that position. And I remember thinking how big of a deal it was. State treasurer. That's a big deal. And to have a state treasurer that would work a deal like this, to make a mockery of the state treasurer's office, to make a mockery of our unclaimed property system. For what? What's in this? I know what's in it for Torch. When the deal was worked, I know what's in it for Torch. It gives the appearance as if all of Torch's machines are operated by the state and are legitimate. That's what's in it for Torch. What's in it for you? You are making a mockery of the state treasurer's office, and I have yet to figure out what's in it for you. There's something there. I do appreciate your grin. There's something there. We haven't figured it out yet, but there's something there. I want to thank this committee for coming here today. Like I said, I'd rather really not be here. I actually, you know, when we first had our first hearing of the year, your appropriation hearing in front of this subcommittee, I was like, I kind of like this guy. I really, seriously, I like this guy. I think he's a good dude. I heard a lot of good things about you. I got a lot of friends down southeast Missouri. You know, they talk about, they were actually talking about you being on the board of governors, I guess, for SEMO, right? You and Andy Patel, is that correct? Is he? Not on the board of governors. He's not on the board. Okay, well, they had mentioned that name to me, and they had told me that you're good dudes. You're good dudes. And I thought, well, they are good dudes. But I'm here to tell you, Treasurer, this is bad stuff. This is as bad as it gets. And I don't know what the deal was, and I don't know what's in it for you, but to make a mockery out of the state treasurer's office to do bad stuff, you personally should be embarrassed that you've been allowed to be drug into this. You're better than that. You are a better man than that. The fact that this is what your legacy is going to go down as, that's sad. This isn't political theater. I almost feel sorry for you. I do look forward in actually getting some answers to some of the actual raw questions that we might be able to get through the sunshine request. Look forward to having you back. I really, really hope what I'm going to leave with is I really hope, if there's anything that I do hope, because of that interaction that I had on Sunday, I really hope this stuff is off these machines by the end of the week. In fact, I'm going to make that request to you. I would like to see this stuff off of these machines by the end of this week. And if it's not, I think it's probably pretty clear and pretty blatant that there's a lot bigger stuff going on than what we know about. With that, this committee is adjourned.